Darlings, it's a tale as old as time. Boy shoots for the moon and lands in a deeper depression than he's ever experienced before in his life. You've tuned in a new job. Who dis? No, that is not the hose of a Santa Claus. That is, welcome to another delightful episode 38 of New Job Who Dis with yours truly, your delightful wrestling managerial host of the stars, darling, Halston Body. Welcome everybody to another new show and a glorious Monday post-Thanksgiving weekend. I hope you all had a lovely time this weekend. I hope you're all safe. I hope you got to eat some food. I hope things are well. However, we're going to move forward. I don't know why I said however there. However, here's the real tea. We are back in it, kids. We are here live. We're doing another podcast about my job adventures. We're getting around the corner. We're getting to the deep stuff now, ladies and gentlemen. If you are new here, welcome. I'm so glad you've joined me here on YouTube or Spotify or the Apple Podcast Network or Podbean. Either way, welcome. If you're one of my delightful 11 listeners, hey, guess what? You have some new neighbors. You have 2 more listeners. Now we're up to the lucky 13 listeners. Yeah, welcome back. You're in it to win it now. I'm sorry. You have to go all the way to the end now, because this is where it goes off the deep end for me. If that doesn't sound like an enticing episode, I don't know what is. So where did we leave off? Oh, I know it's been a long weekend. We're all catching up, but here's where we left off. Yours truly had finally gotten a chance, if you will. I was working at the Boner Pill Palace for a short amount of time. I want to say less than 6 months. I'm trying to remember the exact dates. I'd have to go back in my tax returns, which for that long ago, I don't know if I still have. Either way, it was a temporary fixed job that just had to pay the bills. And I was being courted and, along with 2 other people, being cast for season 3 of the Great Food Truck Race. Now, I want to spend so much time exploring and realistically, unraveling every minute of the food truck race. However, I will save that meat for another stew, another podcast, another conversation. Because again, that could be an entire 3-hour, 4-hour stretch of just talking about every day and what we had to go through, all the ins and outs of being on a reality show and the casting process and da-da-da-da-da. I know I'm leaving you hanging on that. I understand. However, remember, we're here to talk about jobs and career paths and choices. So what I will do is give you a hot, delicious summary of what went on over the course of this 7-week trial run into food truck land, but a bit of what obviously happened after, because as you can clearly tell, I am not operating a food truck. So what went wrong, Halston Body? What could have possibly thrown a wrench in these grandiose plans to change your life? Well, let's get into it. So where I left you off is that we were just getting cast. This was day 1. After casting, they had cast us. We're on. We had a chef who tripped and fell during early taping day one of taping. We had to replace him. We had a mad scramble between us and the producers. When I say us, me and my friend Scott, who was also on the team, there was this mad scramble. We need another chef because at this point we were straight up 3 days from taping, 4 days from taping, and going on the road. And we had to find somebody fast. I'd called a bunch of people trying to see who could possibly pitch in the last minute to keep this going. Because realistically, I didn't know what the production's plans were. I honestly did not know if they were going to take us off the show because we didn't have a chef. I didn't know if they would make some weird contingency plan for us. I didn't know. But they also had to do the work as well because everything is booked. Everything is lined up. We're right around the corner. Oh, it's right there. And we're out a team member because of an accident on set. Now, I mean, it's not like, oh yeah, we don't have a team member because he went on a bender last night and he didn't show up. This was on their dime what was happening, right? So, oh boy, what are we doing? Weirdly enough, we got a chef who pitched in at the last minute. He was somebody who was acquainted or knew somebody somewhere on the PA staff or something. I can't, I'm trying to remember if it was a girlfriend or somebody that I think it was somebody they knew, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, we last minute had a chef put on our team. And I want to say it was an upgrade because at the end of the day, this guy was a professionally trained chef and knew what he was doing. I do not know if that was going to be the case with the other person who was on our team. Moving forward, we get on the show. It is the fastest 7 weeks of my life. And I say 7 weeks because, I'm sorry, 7 weeks. 2 months almost on the road. In fact, 2 months because after the race, I was still on vacation. Now, mind you, I'm going into this because this is an opportunity to give you back as to why I'm doing this. Is because the opportunity is in front of me, for sure. Scott, ? Other chef, unknown at this point. Originally walking into Food Truck Landia was a cookie truck idea. So I had all these business plans, all these ideas, all these thoughts about a cookie truck. Well, because we were immediately turning into a waffle truck, I wasn't as prepared. I didn't have troves of waffle recipes up my sleeve. I didn't have production plans and ideas for a waffle truck already in the bank. Obviously my creative engines were churning 100 miles an hour, so I could have figured it out and did. Between Scott and I, and obviously the chef, Anthony, I believe his name was, Anthony, we obviously came up with waffle ideas and things to come up with in mad, because at the end of the day, it was just production had to happen. If you're on a food truck and you have a line out the door, you had to figure out how to sell and sell quickly. Well, let's look at some positives before we go into the negatives. Or which way do you want it? I'll ask you. Oh, wait, you can't answer. Let's go into the positives before we go into the negatives. Positives! This is the best 7-week summer road trip I've ever experienced. Ever. It was a trial by fire to see if I could possibly, if I had any amount of talent or spunk or drive or quick thinking, critical thinking, business savvy, boss tendencies. What did I have in the tank for me to prove to myself that I could possibly run a food truck? I had it. It was in me. Between Scott and Anthony and I, we had to communicate. We communicated quite well. We had, pre-shift meetings. We had post-shift meetings. As we were doing the whole race, it was a collaborative effort. It was nobody going, I'm the boss now. By nature of design of the show, I was the team leader. But realistically, behind the scenes, I was being a very fair and impartial leader because of the conversation I had with Scott before the race, where he broke me down and told me I was running and gunning without any input from all the people, like the people around me. So I decided to open my ears and shut my mouth a little bit more to take in what the other team members wanted, thought, all of that. Checked myself. Was it a good thing or was it a bad thing? To be determined. What else? Met some amazing people. All across the United States. We went from city to city to city to city. Met some amazing people. People on the race. Some amazing people. From the crew to the people, some of the truck people that the competitors, some amazing specimens on this earth, some amazing souls that we got to bond with because we were in this crazy world that we were in of running and gunning for a food truck. What else? The biggest thing that I could visualize as to why this was so amazing. This whole experience, win or lose. Obviously, I wanted to win. The win was there was a carrot at the end of the stick that made me fight. That carrot was not just $50,000 and a food truck. Oh no, it wasn't just, a cash prize and a food truck. What do I get to do with that? None of that. That was obviously going to change, or no, I think it was it $100,000 or $50,000? I think it was $50,000. Could have been 100. I think it was 50, but I'll have to look back at the tapes. I can't remember. Either way, listen, if somebody drops $50,000 in your lap, I think it was 100 now. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think it was $100,000 and a food truck. I'm motivated. Are you kidding me? You're literally dangling this giant carrot of change in front of me. Hey, mister who's been burning out on trying to make yourself happy, doing a job that you love and doing it for all the right reasons and not working for the man, and you're making money for yourself and you're doing other things for other people, and it's great. It's all great. And that was the carrot. It was this notion that I was like, oh man, this is the opportunity for me to completely change my life for the better. Get out of that rut you've been complaining about for so long, and it finally broke you, and you had to get out of it, man. This was it. So that was, you want to put in some extra drive in me and some extra adrenaline and some go, go, go. This was the proving ground. And I did it. I survived it. Didn't survive a Japanese game show, but I survived this food truck race. I learned a whole lot about myself, whether I could actually do this. That was another thing. Sure, it's great to dream. Sure, that carrot at the end of the stick sounds great. I hope it works. I hope it happens. Yeah. But the other underlying layer was, could I do this? Could I? Could I actually run a food truck? Could I actually show up at the crack of dawn, get your prep going, go shopping, find a spot, ask permissions, do whatever I needed to do, and then count the money at the end of the day? Am I making it? Are we doing it? So that was great. Going back to the summer road trip part, I got to see cities and experience things in cities that I never would have done before. It was magical. Where do we go? What happened? Well, obviously, as I said, by the notion that I'm talking to you now and I'm not running a food truck, we lost. But we got to third place. Third. One episode away from the finale. Now, you're thinking, oh, yeah, that sucks and that stings and it's the worst. Yeah, sure. Based on your long-standing relationships with reality shows and competition reality shows of all sorts, we all, our hearts break for the person who we like, or the person that it's like such a nail-biter close judgment call as to who gets to go forward into the finale. And we all bite our nails down to a nub. Oh, God, I hope it's so-and-so. And that person that you love just doesn't make it on. Womp, womp, womp. Oh, the heartbreak. Now, in the fun part about it is if you actually go watch it somewhere, wherever you can find it on whatever network it may be on. I don't even know if the Food Network even still shows reruns of it back that far. But what's interesting is that, like, there's this layer of, could you imagine climbing this ladder? And, you know, going back to watching the shows, sorry, I just got off track there for a second. The reason why you want to go back to the shows is we were painted as the underdogs, the lovable underdogs. We were the team that no one believed in the beginning. But then by the fact that we started to rev our engines and get closer and closer and team by team, falling by the wayside. We got all the way to Cleveland. The last stop on the show was going to be like Boston and then like 2 cities in Maine. And we went all the way to Maine on this one. Now, this is why it broke my heart. I can't speak for the other two. I absolutely have I can give you my judgment calls about how it felt for them or what it meant to them or whatever. I have no notion of what they internally felt. For me, it crushed me. It absolutely mentally crushed me. Again, imagine, if you will, climbing this ladder, getting the ring, the brass ring is up there, and you just got to grab it to start your life over in this dream world that you've concocted, and it's becoming reality. I mean, realistically, if we would have won as a team, I don't even know what would have happened. I don't know if the money would have been split between us. I don't know if I could have recruited these gentlemen to actually be part of this team permanently. And you're thinking to yourself, well, I thought they were part of the team. Yes, but I was the one that walked into the door with the dream. I was the one that wanted to do this the mostest and to change my life. Scott wasn't part of that. Scott he wasn't there to change his life and work a food truck. Now, maybe I obviously, if it would have been successful and somehow would have been able to get a food truck going, absolutely. It would have been wonderful for Scott to be part of that. But I could not ever really think that that was going to be the end game of this. And again, I wasn't sure what was going to happen. Now, there were so many other great things that happened just in a way of just experiences and little moments and memories and pictures and, sightseeing. But a lot of that just kind of faded out after the fact that we got eliminated one episode away from the finale. And here's where it crushed us even more. Scott is from Maine, and Anthony was from Boston. If we would have got to the finale, oh man, we would have stood a real fighting chance to be the lovable underdogs that somehow won with a waffle truck. It could have happened. Between the two of them, they would have recruited half the state to come eat at our food truck. It would have happened. I guarantee it. The fact that we could have seen the end of the tunnel. We're one episode away, 3 cities away from ringing that bell and winning. And crushed it even harder. Oh, it was just heartbreaking. There's no other way to describe it. It didn't snowball until later, though. We'll get to that. After the show, okay, so the show ends. I know, it's like, wow, you got through the show that fast. But realistically, I could go on for 4 hours about every day, every city, every challenge, every dish, every person, every bad and good experience, I could literally go on about my experience on that. But we're here to talk about how it affected my jobs and how it affected my career and how it sent me in the wrong direction. To nobody's fault but me, myself, and I. I know, you're like, don't beat yourself up so hard. Don't blame yourself. This isn't about blame or beating myself up. You'll understand when we get through. Kick to the chest, 7 weeks of driving through the United States in a food truck, in a car, and just living this weird, crazy 7-week life. Tail between my legs. Gotta go home, right? Make a little pit stop back in Wisconsin, where I'm from, to say hi to the folks and the family and the people. Take some decompression time to suss out what was going on. Meanwhile, I get back. So we get back. We're on week 7. Now it's week 8. It's already over. I'm off the show. Done. Thank you so much. Here's your ticket. Off you go, kid. Thanks so much. We'll talk later. We'll let you know when the air date is. You know what I mean? And so I came back to LA, and here's where it fell apart. The obvious blanket layer was the immediate PTSD / depression kickstart / getting into my own head about what went wrong or what I could have done, or the unraveling starts now. Oh. And, of course, copious amounts of marijuana had to cool those voices in my head. Because realistically, I was getting insomniac. I was starting to just sort of unravel. My brain was unraveling. Meanwhile, Chef Anthony had a medical incident that I will not discuss, but he was incapacitated to even think of being part of this waffle truck or cookie truck or dream food truck idea. It's unfortunate. He is well. He is, as far as last time I spoke with him or talked to him or looked at him or whatever, literally back when the truck race happened. It's been that long. No hard feelings. I just wished him well. It was just painfully obvious to both Scott and Anthony, though. I could tell right now that they could clearly see I was a mess. I was a mess. I was trying to mask it so hard. I was trying in earnest after 7 to 8 weeks of chasing this dragon in hopes to change my life. And it was swatted out of my hands. I did my best to put on my best face. I did my best to try to gather some sort of semblance of, let's make this work, man. It's still a dream. Come on, get on the bus. But I can't speak for them. I can only observe and give perspective. My observation was they had had enough of me or my plans or my crazy ideas, and they had their own agendas. Anthony, obviously, health. Scott, I almost feel like the Great Food Truck Race was our last hurrah, because it was not soon after that whole experience went down, and then it was weeks after where I was trying to like piece it all together. I believe he broke up with his boyfriend at the time or after the race, and and so the plates shifted. Honestly, I have not spoken to Scott in years. 6, 7, 8 years at least. No hard feelings. Again, it's nothing that I don't hold any grudge or regret or like. The whole thing is that I obviously was deluded enough to feel that I wanted this so bad that I was willing to just pull in anybody who could just possibly be within arm's reach. And the people that were within arm's reach were not ready, willing, or able to do what I wanted to do. The other big shot to the head and to the heart was that this is where the story of the chapter or the book or whatever you want, it's called All Dreams, No Dollars. Whoo! So, fun fact, when you compete on a reality show that involves this skill or whatever it is, occupational, right? Because you could, Project Runway could be in there. America's Next Top Model could be in there. It's an occupational reality show. It's not just, make cakes for fun like I Nailed It. It's, this could change your life. You want to be the best salon, tattoo artist, model, whatever, the food truck operator. Yes, I want to be that. Well, fun fact, and not an indictment, the Food Network and the people involved and all the other food truck operators, no one cares. No one's knocking on your door. No one's going, hey, rock star from Great Food Truck Race Season 3, we really loved your work on the show. We'd really love to get your truck up and running to make our production look like we're the birthing place for cool food trucks and fun food trucks. No one's calling you. No one's checking up on you. No, they didn't even offer like after reality show therapy. Great Food Truck Race didn't. I Survived a Japanese Game Show did, which is weird to me because I Survived a Japanese Game Show was just a goofy game show, jumping through flour and running on tracks and and doing all these weird things. And yeah, you might lose $250,000, but it wasn't like, man, I was so skilled at, putting blindfolds on and throwing things at like, there was no like, oh man, I feel really bad because I studied so hard to be on this Japanese game show. But Great Food Truck Race was literally dangling a humongous carrot of change for me. Within arm's reach. Nay, being that close to winning, I feel like I hit the ring with my hand and felt the cold metal and was like, oh, we almost got there. We almost got there. And then I fell off that ladder. To say depression is an understatement. To say that I became a complete mess, understatement. What really started to snowball? It started with, obviously, the snowball started down the hill with the loss. Okay? But then the snowball started rolling. It started rolling because I didn't really have Anthony and Scott anymore. I had no +1. I had no right-hand man. I had no team members to help me. Nobody was knocking on my door. Nobody saw me on the show. Nobody saw me on the show and went, oh, we want to get you a food truck. How can I help? Hi, I'm a business person and I have money. How do we get this rocking? Because I think I love your idea and I want this to help, Nope. Nobody. Now, I'm also saying this not as not an indictment. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not nobody, there's no sour grapes about it. No one helped me. No. I mean, up to this point, it was a one-man band. And then when Scott joined in, it was a two-man band. And then we had a three-man band. But again, I feel like the pivot shift from cookies to waffles is what threw me off because I wasn't preparing for waffles. I wasn't ready to be a waffle guy. I was ready to be a cookie guy. It's not a blaming. I'm going to blame it like, oh, that was the biggest reason. No, it didn't help though. It didn't help that I suddenly was like so focused on cookie math and so focused on cookie timing and so focused on figuring out how to make that work that it was like, you got a crash course in waffles. You got 2 weeks. Figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't 2 weeks. Maybe it was like 4 weeks. But that was much shorter than almost the whole year that I spent creating, a cookie business. Well, needless to say, I came back. Came back to LA, broke. I had to move out. I had to move out of the place I was in with my then ex because I couldn't afford the rent. I had to figure out a place to crash. I had to figure out where to go. I had a couple friends who lived in the north side of the valley who had a big old house with 3 bedrooms and plenty of room. Things just started to unravel. But I tried my best. Get to know me. Even in the worst times, days, I try my darndest to put on the best face I can. I try not to burden others with my sorrow or my feels. And it's not because of some shame. I just, I don't want to it's just one of those things. I don't want to be like, woe is me. Woe is me. Whine, whine, whine. My life sucks. That wasn't my agenda. My brain was like, I got to do something. I got to figure something out. I got to make it work somehow. I don't know how, though. How do I do it? It was bad. I'm going to tell you more about how it gets bad in a second. I'm just contemplating it because it's just so like, it was such a slow but growing snowball. Also, here's another layer that again, it was heartbreaking. I couldn't get myself up off my feet to figure it out. So what did I think I was going to do? Well, I had to do something, right? I had to make some money. I had to figure out how to stay in the game because again, nobody was keeping me in the game. Nobody was like, hey, we really want you in this food truck world. So here's a buttload of cash. Get it going, right? Here's an investment. Here's an investor. Here's what do you need, kid? I love your drive and your enthusiasm. Yes, I see this loose business plan. We're going to tighten it up and we're going to make it work. Yes. I decide to get a job working for a food truck. Swim with the fishes, my darlings. Swim with the fishes. And, I thought it would be the smartest move because, again, I had no money. I had barely enough to pay rent based on what I made from the food truck stuff. Because you got a weekly stipend and then, because you had to eat and you had all this, you had a weekly stipend and then there was a prize for every week you got. It was minimal. It wasn't I came back loaded. It was just enough to get by for a little bit until I had to take on the next thing. Well, be careful what you wish for, because here I'm thinking, wow, I just had 7 weeks of crash course of the food truck race. I get the vibe of a food truck. I understand how to bang the drum. I'm motivated to climb and carry and drive and do all these great things. Well, again, be careful what you wish for. I got a job with a food truck here in Los Angeles. It was called, and I don't know if it's in business anymore. I don't even know if it exists at a truck. I have to look it up. It was called the Lobos truck. And here's my gung-ho attitude. My gung-ho attitude was, start from the bottom, let's get to the top. Sign up, get a job with a food truck. Just get a job. See if you can do it. See if it can work. They literally, my first night, they put me in, it was basically an audition. That's kind of how they framed it. They said, oh, we want you to audition. I didn't know how I was singing and dancing, but I put on my best energy pants on. I got a crash course on how their tablet or how their ordering system worked. I sang and danced in front of, I was trying to hustle. Get some burgers sold, get some fries sold, make it work. And they hired me. They were like, this kid's got spunk. We love this guy. Oh, energy. We love it. We love it. Whew. How quickly that faded. How quickly that faded. Because for somebody like me who needed to make money, and knowing these food truck shifts were maybe at the longest 4 hours, 3.5 at best, with driving time, 4.5 at best, maybe 5, if we're dealing with a long drive somewhere at some remote location. But here's the problem with food truck life. If you're just a cashier or a salesperson or whatever you're doing at the front, and you're not the owner of the food truck, if something goes wrong with your truck, or an event cancels for whatever reason. So let's say you're expecting to work 3 times this week, and you know it's going to make X amount of dollars to get you by, and you know you got to work that time, and you know you got to spend gas money driving to these places, and you know you got to spend your valuable time to do that, and then you show up to an event and you're wondering where your truck is, and then all of a sudden, like, you get a text 20 minutes after the event was supposed to start from the boss saying, oh man, hey, sorry to forget to tell you that we're not event. And you've driven like 45 minutes to an hour to get to wherever you needed to be. Watch me go from 0 to angry at being at this job in that I was so dumb. I was like, what am I doing? I love food trucks. I love the atmosphere. I love the culture. I love being in food truck rows and meeting all the cute food trucks who come by to say hi and seeing all the different cuisines and meeting all the wonderful people who want to buy your food. It's delightful. But when it is painfully inconsistent, when the communication is painfully inconsistent, when the guarantee of money and hours is barely consistent, and the slog to do this job, and the micromanaging that was happening as well for some weird reason, it was just like, it went from this is going to be fun to I hate this job. I can't believe I'm working for this truck. That's how it was. Now you're like, oh, that's like your attitude just soured. Yes. And it's not because I was like, I could do better. I didn't run a burger truck. These people had restaurant experience. They had money. They knew what they were doing to an extent. But all the things that I had learned in food truck school and all the panache of being a food truck operator and watching what was going on behind the scenes made me feel like it was dirty pool. And I didn't want to be part of it. It's sour. It's like that thing, that principle of like, this is the job that I dream about. This is the place I want to work. This is what I want to do. Be careful what you wish for. Because the minute I actually had to do it for somebody and see their methods and see what, how they treated the truck or the customer or whatever, again, they didn't do anything wrong inherently. I just was like, this is gross. This is weird. They're not being, and then there's, again, with miscommunications and bad instructions and it was just messy. To just put it in blunt terms, it was a messy job and I didn't last very long. Oh no, 3 months tops. Oh yeah, no, I was in and out of that food truck. God love them. I don't know if they still lasted. I think the ironic part is I think I saw them at a group event, at a work event that I had later on. I was like, oh, God, that truck. It gave me flashbacks. Oh, God, the food truck. Yeah, I worked at this place called the Lobos Truck. And I remember them saying, like, the food truck thing was basically a stepping stone to get you a restaurant. That was most of food truck operators, like, momentum was like, start with a food truck and it'll get you to a restaurant. So people will be familiar with your brand. And then when they see you have an actual store or a brick and mortar, shazam. The winners of the Great Food Truck Race, Soul Sausage, Seoul, Soul Sausage. They are still in business. I think they still have a food truck. They're amazing human beings. Please, if you are in Los Angeles, or if you're visiting Los Angeles and you want an interesting, delightful treat, find Soul Sausage on your map. It is amazing food. And the guys who won that food truck race are highly deserving. They're still running years later after the loss that we took. No hard feelings against them. I told them during the race or after, like it was either during the race or right before the finale, I said, I don't care if you win or we win, as long as we bring the trophy back to LA, because the other team was from Boston. Whew, they were not nice. And that's just because they're from Boston. They were just like, So I'm glad that those gentlemen won. What I won was a big pile of sadness, and it just kept going. The hits just kept on coming. So we lose the food. Now, mind you, remember, this is a snowball that probably dates back to the Japanese game show. But this is where it really starts rolling down the hill even further because of all these layers of loss. I lose the rate, I lose that thing, I lose the boyfriend, I lose the job, I lose happiness. I'm losing it all. I'm losing my mind. It's really what's happening at this point. I'm absolutely losing my mind. And, once the dust had settled with this food truck that I was working on, and while I was trying to work on that, trying to find other work, because I was trying so hard to survive and just trying so hard to keep my head above water, because I didn't know what to do. I was gunning for a career and gunning for a job change and a life change that would have made such a difference in my life. But my brain cracked. And what made it even worse is that there was a deck, I like to describe this as a deck shuffling. You'll understand in a second. There were all these people that I knew in Los Angeles for years. Yes, some of them are still part of the gay bear community, the LGBTQ bear community, some of the comics. All these people that I knew, when this was all going down and I was isolated in this house up on the hill in the valley, and I was barely working, and I was clearly riding a fast train to deep depression. I had been informed that a couple of friends who were tight, at that point, I felt like they were good friends. There may be a little bit of fading going on, but at the end of the day, I'd known them for like at least 12 years, if not longer. And there are other people. There are other pool party folks and other Baramesium types, all these people that I had known. They'd somehow disappeared. They had kind of left the building. And I was looking for them. And not because I needed to, I need you guys. It was this weird, observation. I felt like I was in this weird out-of-body conversation in my head where I was observing the ants in the ant farm and watching what was going on. I really didn't know. I didn't know what was happening. Because I was like, where are all these people? And the worse and worse I sunk into my depression, it was very apparent to me the friends that I thought I had were kind of gone. But the further I went down this depression path, these new friends showed up. And they were on this peripheral. These were people that I acquaintanced or other people that weren't there. they were there, but they weren't tight. It was just this loose, like, mixture. And again, all these people that I at least thought would be around to check in, maybe help, maybe offer some productive advice, maybe even, hey, I know you're post food truck and you haven't figured it out yet, maybe a job offer or something, anything. It was crickets. This new wave of people came in and it was like, I couldn't figure it out. I was like, wow, all these new faces are showing up to hold my hair and pet me to sleep and da-da-da-da-da-da. And meanwhile, I'm also remotely dating my current husband. Spoiler. I was dating remotely this lovely gentleman who was living in Albuquerque at the time. And, he was a rock. He was a source of light for me. I had all these other, what happened was essentially the blanket of it is that I had all these acquaintances. I had all these friends. I had all these people I thought were around. They had vanished. And then all of a sudden through the filter came these stronger entities that were, I guess the only way I can really describe it is that they were way more concerned about my health, my mental health, my well-being, and am I going to be okay? All the other people that I had lost, that's the way I could only describe it to the 2 rounds of therapists that I went through, is that it was like nobody even peeked in the door. I had zero expectation for anybody to lift me up and carry me to some promised land or pull all these favors out of their hat to help me out. It's not what I was seeking. I just noticed there was little to no empathy or care in regards to are you okay? Are you going to be okay? What are we doing with this food truck? Nothing. Select people were keeping an eye on me, but the mass populace that I used to run with and just sort of these people I kind of thought would have at least checked in, gone. They left the building. They weren't even in the parking lot. That crushed me. But what crushed me even harder, which sent me over the edge, was the fact that 2 dudes that I knew, I'd been having friend therapy conversations with this other friend of mine, and he had shared with me something that, looking back, I don't know if I needed to hear, or I don't know. I mean, again, no regrets and no, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, anything, but he had informed me that these 2 gentlemen who I thought were at least some level of long-standing friends had been at a dinner and supposedly were calling openly calling my dreams and my waffle truck stuff and my cookie business a joke. You can be like, oh, well, that's just hearsay. You shouldn't listen to the gossip and blah, 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 blah. I believed in this person that I was speaking to. I didn't have any reason to think they were untrustworthy. They were sharing truths with me otherwise that were very open and very honest. So I didn't have any reason or feeling to think that he would lie about this in some way to make it worse for me. That was not the agenda here. The agenda was to open my eyes and to make me aware. And I don't know if these gentlemen even know. I know the gentleman who told me knows, but it absolutely, my heart jumped out of my body. It got ran over by cars. It got cigarettes put out into it. I mean, it was just heart-wrenching to believe that people that I thought were there, or at least had some semblance of empathy and care, would talk about one of their friends life-changing goals and dreams in a way of treating it as if it was a joke. Because for me, number one, it wasn't a joke. This was, I got to get out of this place, man. I got to change my life. This was I got to make something happen, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to fight, and I'm going to be driven, and I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to suffer, and I'm going to do all these things to make it happen. And your perception of it was that it was a joke. Wow. Wham. Whoo. Who likes being high and being in his head and his thoughts for many moons? Hey, therapy, how you been? We have to talk about this identity of where I'm at and why I'm feeling this way. And P.S., by the way, I will let you know, trigger warning if you need it, because I'm aware enough that this may trigger people. It sent me down a path of pain, anxiety, internalization, and depression. Not clinical. This was more PTSD, like situational depression, not the I need to, I fell into the chemical depression. Clearly there was no serotonin happening in my life at the time, but was it painful? And it sent me down a path of suicidal ideation. There were times that I was so wrecked and so in my head about the whys, the how could this have happened, the amount of loss I was barely scraping by. I was living on good graces. I was barely paying rent. I was helping out whenever I could around the house to stay productive, but I was painfully underemployed. And on top of all that, people that I thought that what really stuck to me, and this is the way I can describe it, I would never in my life call my friends' dreams and ambitions to change their lives for the better a joke. Ever. Now, if their ambitions and dreams in life to change into was to suddenly take up smoking meth as a hobby and a job, I will have questions about that. I will want to make sure that that is not a undesirable or unsafe career path. But as my parents said, whatever you want to be a good one and just get out there and do it, kid. Just be who you want to be. And these people, again, they weren't the only two. There were other people who literally were rejecting and put off and or putting their fingers in their ears and or whatever, talking their talk about yours truly and my dream chasing. And it completely crushed me to a point where I thought a couple of times at least, for sure, the first 2 times, because I did it 3 times, where I thought, well, you got nothing left, kid. You're broke. You're out of ideas. You don't know what to do. You tried even working on a food truck. Yeah, what have I been doing? I don't know. Again, life, there's no light at the end of that tunnel. Did I do it? No. Did I even get to the point of setting it up? Not at all. This is how my brain worked with it. It was well, I could jump off. No, that's kind of gross. I could drink some. No, that's going to hurt. I don't want that. I could. No, that's going to be gross. I don't want people to find me like that. Oh, that could be I was immediately discounting. This is get to know me moment again. Number 2. I was literally knocking the idea out of my hand, if only because I didn't want to make myself a bother to others. Yes! Thank you for being so, steadfast in your ways, because you saved yourself because you didn't want to make a mess. That's realistically, I was there's no fun way to do this. The first time was just that. The second time I actually called like the suicide hotline number. And I gave them the rundown, and they were like, you don't need emergency, call this number. And I was like, all right. And I called the number that she gave me, and it was busy. And I thought, well, that's the sign. We're too busy. You need to come back later when you're actually going to do it. We don't have time for this. Figure it out, kid. And I did. Crushed me. Crushed me. Again, taking L after L after L after L after L. And the worst part is I didn't know where to find any wins. I could not figure out what I was going to do. I still had this cookie dream. I still had the cookie business idea. I obviously had to pay rent, and I had the desire to make something of this nothing that I'd been handed, mixed with all this layers of trauma that was happening because my world was shook. There was this ex-friend came after me online, like literally down my neck. Like he was yelling, he was coming after my neck instead of being helpful. He was like, what are you going to do with this dumb food truck? What are you going to, like, just railing me about it instead of being like, oh, I'm so sorry that this happened. How are you? What do you need to, where are you at? I'm checking in, just making sure your well-being's at. No, it was just like kicking me while I was down. Like it was literally, I was already down. And here comes somebody just nailing me in the head with a boot. Like, I'm already down here. What are you doing? Painful. It was that level of like depression on a level of I didn't want to get out of bed, but when I got out of bed, I didn't want to do anything. I could barely put my clothes on. I was just like being a slob. I wasn't showering every third day. Like it was just bad. It was bad. And I don't know what to do with it. It was so weird. It kept crushing me. Every time it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I went back to therapy. I got some therapy going again, and that started to turn around. But what really started to turn around was the last straw of trying to think that I could possibly want to off myself. How did we turn it around? Well, you'll have to tune in on Friday. Oh, I messed it up. No, you'll have to tune in on Friday because there is sunshine coming down over the mountain. Don't you worry. I know I hate to leave it on such a sour note. Yours truly almost decided it was over because all of my dreams just got flushed down the toilet. They fell through my hands like the sands of time. And I had never felt so alone and so lost in my entire life. Just a mess. I was just a mess. And we got a lot to unravel there. But we will talk about more of that and how did I trudge through it and what got me past it all. How did I resolve all these issues? How did I get past being underemployed? How did I stop thinking about suicide? What were all these things that pushed me through and got to me where I am today? Tune in on Friday. Hey, thank you so much, my 13 listeners. Thank you for sticking it out. I appreciate your listenership. If you are new here, stick around. It's only getting better. We're actually winding down there. We're getting close. Yeah, we're at episode 30, 38. We're getting, coming around the mountain. We're almost getting to 50. We'll know when we're going to end. I'll tell you. I'll be in charge of that. Thank you again. Please, if you are here on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, all the Apple Podcasts, please subscribe, please like, please share, please add 5 stars, please comment. If you're watching here on YouTube on my lovely channel, please, by all means, comment, share, like, and subscribe. Hey, it's been a ride. Hope your weekend as well. We'll see you Friday. As I say every weekend, I'll say it again. Hey, tell a friend, tell your neighbor, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your sister, tell your brother, tell everyone you've been watching. New job, Who dis?